بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, today is the third Tarawih, which means 10% of Ramadan is over. When the Qadr still comes, then you know 10% of Ramadan is over. In this surah, in this juz, there are three things I want to talk about. The first thing is Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum, Ayatul Kursi. There's a Persian poem where the poet says, Rahmat Rab Baha Nami Joyat, Rahmat Rab Baha Nami Joyat, or Rahmat Rab Baha Nami Joyat, Rahmat Rab Baha Nami Joyat. The poet says that the mercy of Allah has no price. Rather, the mercy of Allah looks for a bahana, an excuse. Baha in Persian Urdu means a price. Bahana means an excuse. Your parents tell you, bahana mat karna. Don't make excuses. So Allah's mercy looks for an excuse, just to forgive you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever recites Ayatul Kursi after every fard prayer takes less than a minute. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, but all 8 doors of Jannah will be open for that person. A simple action. And you know how, right now as we're getting this place, we're signing up with the internet, we're signing up with the electricity, and they have their, this is what we're charging, this is what we're giving. And then you have all of this fine print. You have 10 pages of fine print and 3 lines of what they're going to give to you. The terms and conditions, the exclusions are far more. But whenever this hadith or any of these things come, there is no terms and condition. It says just do something so Allah can just push you into Jannah. One of my teachers, Mufthi Alauddin, hafidhahullah wa ra'ahu, may Allah give him a long life and health. In his exams, he used to tell us, he used to call us ghori, as in a horse. The horses aren't that smart. His ghori is just write anything in the exam. So at least through something I can have an excuse to give you some points, and I can pass you. Even if you don't know anything, just write something there, so I can pass you. And if this is the compassion of a human being, imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does Allahu la ilaha illahu mean? There's Allah, la ilaha. There is no God besides Him. If there is no God, God is the highest level. And it starts with the nafi. Jo la kaha, wo la hua, us la mein bhi, la hua, phir kya hua, Allah hua. First Allah starts with the negation, that nothing exists, there's nothing in reality. If there is no God, there is nothing. Then He says, illallah, besides Him. He is the one. We turn towards everyone, we look for happiness in everyone, we look for fulfillment in everyone. And the one that we abandon is the one that's looking after us. King Henry VIII, when he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn, his first wife was Catherine of Aragon, Spain. And when he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn, he was contemplating the idea of breaking away from the Catholic Church and starting his own Church of England. And he was influenced largely by the Lutheran movement. And he had a cardinal, Cardinal Wolsey at that time, King Henry VIII grew up in front of Cardinal Wolsey. And he was his right hand, and he was the person who did everything for him. But obviously he was a cardinal and he was a die-hard Catholic, so he objected to Anne Boleyn, and you cannot have a divorce in the Catholic faith. So at this time, Cardinal Wolsey and King Henry VIII differed. So King Henry VIII sent him to prison. On his way to prison, Cardinal Wolsey said something. He said, had I been faithful to God as I was to the king, had I been faithful to God as I was to the king, He would not abandon me in my white hair. That if we dedicated ourselves to Allah the way we dedicate ourselves to others, then Allah would not abandon us the way everyone abandons us. And the way everyone turns away, Allah wouldn't turn away. Al-Hayyul Qayyum. He's always there. He's never absent. People say, sorry, I missed your call. I was busy. I was sleeping. Allah's Al-Hayyul Qayyum. He's always there. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, I mean, we all have people that we love, right? But imagine the Sahaba who stood next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away. We never imagine in our lives that the people we love will ever be gone. Whether it's a parent, a child, a sibling, or not, we don't imagine it. Today I was listening to Mufthi Rahman Wahid and Mufti Abdullah Wahid's discussion of when their brother passed away. A 21, 22-year-old young boy passed away in a car accident on the way to get medicine for their mom. So I was listening to the brother's talk, and he was mentioning, he said, the moment I heard that my brother could have got in an accident, he said, I went and I did 2 rak'at salah. Who else am I going to talk to besides Allah? He said, I'm heartbroken that my little brother passed away. 10 years he's been outside the house. 10 years he's been outside the house. Finally he graduates and he comes. And then he passes away. So what is one brother going to say? So he says, as I was breaking down, my other brother was just saying one thing, non-stop, the whole family of scholars. He says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, 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 Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is enough for me, Allah is enough for me, Allah is enough for me, Allah is enough for me. That's all that's on their tongue. That is all that's on their tongue. That even in loss they are content. And we are not content even in prosperity. And happiness we are not even content. We have everything and we're still not content. They have nothing and they're still content. So when Rasulullah ﷺ passed away, it was a shock to the Sahaba. They couldn't believe it. Like the Prophet's gone finally. Like you can't believe it, right? This was the person that every day, 5 times a day they saw him. They just hovered around, they dedicated their lives. They're called Sahaba because that was the group chat. That's it. Once you entered, you didn't leave. You just stuck by the man. So when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, Umar ibn al-Khattab unsheathed his sword. And he said, whoever says Muhammad has died, فَأَضْرِبْ عُنَقَهُ, I will chop his head off his head. I will chop his head off his shoulders. How dare you say, Muhammad is just sleeping, he'll come back. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was in Thaqif ibn Uzarida, and he comes. He walks straight through the ranks. Bewildered Sahaba, shook. The battle of Badr couldn't shake them, Uhud couldn't shake them, Tabuk couldn't shake them, Khandaq couldn't shake them, the battle of the trench couldn't shake them, the swords of the disbelievers couldn't shake them, but the demise of Rasulullah had them shook like babies. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu pierced through the crowd. And he sees the deceased body of Rasulullah ﷺ. And all he says is, Tibata hayyan wa mayyitan ya Rasulallah. He said, in life, O Nabi of Allah, you are so beautiful and immaculate. Even in death, you are so immaculate. And then he says, Man kana ya'budu Muhammadan فَإِنَّهُ قَدْ مَاتَ وَمَنْ كَانَ يَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ فَإِنَّهُ حَيٌّ لَا يَمُوتُ. He said, whoever worships Muhammad, let it be known that Muhammad is no more. And whoever worships Allah, let him know that Allah is ever living and Allah never leaves. Go back and read the translation of Ayatul Kursi. And this is not really tafsir. This is just us putting some appetizer on your tongue. That's it. Go back and read. We are the nation of Iqra. Read. But we became the nation of Isma', listen. All we do is listen to YouTube videos. Go back and read this verse and translate the translation and feel it. What Allah says to you. I don't have the time to delve into detail of it. The next story that Allah talks about is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam with Namrud. There were 4 kings that ruled over the entire world. 2 were Muslims, 2 were non-Muslims. The 2 Muslims were Sulaiman alayhi salam and Dhul Qarnayn, and the 2 non-Muslims were Nabukhtanasar and Namrud, the king at the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So when Ibrahim alayhi salatu was salam avoided the fire and he was saved in the fire, he was brought in front of Namrud. And him and Namrud had this debate. And Ibrahim alayhi salam says, my Allah is the one who gives life and gives death. And Namrud says, oh, I give life and death. He called a person who had no crime on his shoulder, and he said, chop his head off. Look, I give him death. And then he said, he calls a prisoner who was headed to the gallows to get beheaded. He said, you are free now. He said, I gave life. Ibrahim was like, this man, he's slow, he doesn't get it. So he says, no. My Allah is the one who brings the sun from the east. You bring it from the west. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. He had nothing to say. Because he knew that if he took Ibrahim got saved from the fire, if he tells this man that, oh, I can bring it, why aren't you telling your Allah to bring it from the west? He knows that Allah will bring it from the west. So he stays quiet. And that is why from the last signs of the Day of Judgment is the sun will rise from the west. Inshallah, we will do a series on the signs of the Day of Judgment. The signs of the Day of Judgment are metaphorical and literal, both. So the literal meaning is, of course, the sun will rise from the west to the east. The metaphorical meaning is that the sun of Islam will rise from the west. Just the way Islam rose from the east in the end of time, Islam will rise from the west in the hearts of people like yourselves. I don't want opinion as the technological and the ruling and the kingdom, all of that will last, will rise from the west. Lastly, the last story for today. Surah Ali Imran, the family of Maryam alayhi salam. Husband and wife, Imran and his wife, Hamna, they couldn't have kids. And they were in Palestine. So the mother does dua and she says, Ya Allah, if I have a child, then that child will be dedicated for your cause. So Allah gives her a daughter. فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْ قَالَتْ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى. When she gave birth, she said, oh, it's a daughter. What can a daughter do? The mentality. And Allah says, وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ. Allah says, I know what you gave birth to. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. The child, the male child you wanted is nothing like the daughter I have blessed you and bestowed you with. That's why our Nafisa sisters, right? That this girl, she was beautiful. She came from a prestigious family. She was intelligent, she was dedicated. But she said, you know what, I want my life to have no meaning to it. I don't want to give my life in some guy's hand or this person's hand who will tell me what I want to hear for the moment and is talking to 5 other girls at the same time. I don't want to give my life in someone's hand who doesn't really care about me, who doesn't really value me. So she dedicates her life to Allah. I've seen the very room that she used to do her ibadat of Allah in Masjid al-Aqsa. There's a niche built there where Maryam alayhi salam used to stay. She used to stay in the masjid, in the corner of the masjid. One day, Zakaria alayhi salam walks in. You know Uber Eats, DoorDash? Some of you guys do it, right? You know where they got Uber Eats and DoorDash from? From Maryam alayhi salam. The angels used to bring food for her. Fruits and all of these things, not your fake fruits with GMO and preservatives no, fresh fruits, organic, of the season. Of the season, it's not even the season of pomegranates and pomegranates are there. It's not mango season and mangoes are there. See, we live in an era where everything you can get frozen. So we don't really appreciate seasonal things. People who live in organic areas and lands, they'll appreciate seasonal things. I mean, we just had fresh fruit straight. I mean, we were there at breakfast at Monagardi's. He was like, yeah, the avocados. We were sitting at dinner table and we just hear pumps, like huge thumps. We're thinking like people are getting shot. And he's like, oh no, those are the avocados falling. And next day at breakfast, we see the avocados that fell the night before. We're having cinnamon on our oatmeal, and he's telling us that cinnamon is from the tree that's hugging the deck. You see this kiwi over here? That kiwi came from that tree right there. The honey you're eating is from my farm. That's a different vibe altogether. Can't explain that to the generation of Whataburger and McDonald's, whose meat isn't even real meat, and the buns aren't even real buns, and the tomato ketchup has no tomato inside it. Orange juice has no orange inside it. The mango juice has no mango in it. So she sees this, the fruits from all over. So Zakaria alayhi salam asks her, he says, Anna laki hada? Where did this come from? And her humility is mind-blowing. She doesn't go like, oh yeah, I'm so tight with Allah that like Allah just sends it to me. No. She says, قَالَتْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. It's nothing to do with me. Allah just blessed me and gave it to me. It's from the divine. And we're going to go into her story in details of Isa alayhi salam in due time. But the reflection I take out of this, and also the other day I was driving back and I was thinking of the first juz. And in the first juz, Allah talks about how Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi yarfa Ibrahim wa Ismail qawa'id min al-bayt wa yarfa Ibrahim qawa'id min al-bayt wa Ismail Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim. That as we are building our Isra and we are building our location, Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son Ismail literally, physically build the Kaaba, and after building the Kaaba they say, Rabbana taqabbal minna. If I swear, I wish you could really enjoy the Arabic words. You know, I am very impressed with you all that you come and stand in Tarawih and listen to the Quran. I don't know what you think of when you're standing in Salah. But if you don't know the Arabic language, then I don't know where your mind is wandering off to. But I am, no, without doubt, I do applaud you standing up. For understanding Salah is not, you're not rewarded on understanding or not understanding. You're rewarded on obedience. And perhaps Allah will give you more reward for your Salah and standing without understanding, but only for His love, than me who understands it. Perhaps Allah will see your love in standing, because the Prophet ﷺ says, Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba. If you stand up in Ramadan with iman in your heart, ihtisaba, and you're saying, Ya Allah, I'm doing it for good deeds, غُفِرَتْ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. Allah will erase the sins of yours of the past. Your past sins are erased. And I applaud you for that, because not many can do what you are doing. There are hundreds and thousands of Muslims, youth, in this community. Not everyone is sitting and listening, and not everyone is standing and praying, but you are. Your parents aren't here, besides Allah. Your parents aren't here. No one's here to make sure you're praying or not praying. It's different if I'm getting texts from your parents and asking if you're really here or not. But you're here for Allah's sake. There's no camera. There's no one telling you you have to stand. You're here for Allah's sake. So after Ibrahim a.s. and Ismail a.s. construct the whole Kaaba, they use the word taqabbal. And you hear this often, right? Taqabbal dura'ana, taqabbal, right? In Arabic, when you get married, what is the phrase you say? Does anyone remember the phrase you say when you're accepting marriage? I mean, I'm sure you all have it memorized. Does anyone know the phrase? Qabul hai. Who said that? Hamza's ready. He's like, my wedding is 50% done. I have said yes, I'm waiting for her. Qabul hai comes from the Arabic word qabiltu, which means accepted. Or I've accepted it. But the word taqabbal in Arabic from tafa'ul doesn't mean accepted. You know what it means? Let me describe it in a story to you. How many of you all have little nieces, nephews, or siblings? Okay. You ever see them? They bring like a picture of something that they made for you, and it's the trashiest picture in the world, right? And they come and they're like, here, what do? Like, when Sufyan comes to me, he says, Chacha, Mamu Jan, I made this. It looks like you. And I look at it and I'm like, bro, looks like a dead cat, but I'll take it. You take it what? You don't want to take it, or like, he eats something, he's like, here, Mamu Jan, have it. Like, I really don't want to. But you don't want to break the kid's heart, so you're like, okay, you know what, I'll take it. You really don't want to have the food that he just ate. But he's offering with so much love. How do you say no to it? But you know it's so terrible, it's so bad. That's what taqabbal means. That, Ya Allah, my salah is so trash. My worship is so trash. I don't have any sincerity. I didn't do it properly. My sajda is broken. My ruku is crooked. My wudu was messy. But despite all of this, taqabbal, accepted like a child brings something that isn't worthy of being accepted. This is the words Ibrahim a.s. said after making the Kaaba with his own hands. And it reminds us, as our generation is building this home or this house of Allah, that no matter what we do, we are not worthy. That Allah chose us to do something for His sake, for the Ummah. Wallahi, we are not worthy. Why us? We don't know ourselves. Why Allah put us in the place that Allah put us? But Allah chose you all to populate this place. We didn't know a week ago that we'd be praying here. The boys who know that we've been working after this thing, they didn't know a week ago that we would be here. It was last Wednesday, it was last Tuesday when I saw this place. It was just a week ago when I saw it. I hadn't even stepped inside. I think Wednesday was the first day, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. We didn't even know. And subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where it was destined and written. So no matter what we do and how much we do, whether it's for Isra or for anything else, we're not worthy. And the fact that Allah has utilized us, that means the most. That Allah thinks that we're capable of doing some small task. At the end, the greatness belongs to Allah. The way Maryam alayhi salam didn't flex. And she said, وَمِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ, it's from Allah. We say the same thing. Everything is from Allah and we are nothing. We are nothing. And Allah is everything. And when we say Allahu Akbar, we stand up like a person when a cop pulls their gun out and says, you're under arrest. And the person, the criminal, puts their hand up. We stand before Allah and we stand with our heads bowed down, understanding we're criminals and that we're arrested in front of our Allah. And we're saying, Allahu Akbar, Allah, we are nothing and you are the greatest. And we stand with humility and awe before the divine and sublime nature of the creator of all things, Rabbul Alameen. And we stand before Him. We are not worthy to stand before Him, but He has allowed us to stand before Him. May Allah make the reality of this enter our hearts. And as I mentioned, inshallah, this Saturday, we will be having Shaykh Yasir Qadi for Qiyam. So please do come for Tarawih. And as I say, our Tarawih is 9:30-ish, which means between 9:30 and 9:45. And it's more closer to the Sunnah. You know why? Because the Sahaba didn't have a set time. The Prophet ﷺ came and they prayed and khalas. So inshallah, at least we're replicating this much until we have a consistent crowd. Subhanallah, rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.